We've got balls.
Perhaps the most unlucky man in the history of professional football, George Shaw began his career in style as he dominated the high school ranks in Portland, Oregon, when he went on to win 2 state championships before heading to Eugene to join the Oregon Ducks. While at Oregon, Shaw played 6 different positions, including quarterback, running back, wide receiver, safety, kicker, and punter. In 1951, he served as the Ducks' starting safety and proceeded to intercept a school record 13 passes, with his most dominant performances coming against Arizona and Idaho as he intercepted 3 passes in each game. Of course, those did happen to be just the only 2 wins Oregon had that season. Shaw finished his college career with a school record 18 interceptions, which still stands to this day. By 1954, Shaw was named the Ducks' starting quarterback, and for the first and only time in the 20th century, they opened up the season ranked in the top 25. This seemed warranted as Oregon dismantled Idaho in their first game of the season 41-0, which moved them up to number 16. This was short-lived, however, as back-to-back losses to unranked opponents knocked them out of the top 25 for good. But despite this and a modest 6-4 record that included their own 41-0 loss to the hands of top-ranked UCLA, Shaw himself was excellent, leading the nation with 1,358 yards passing, eclipsing the legendary Norm Van Brocklin's school record by over 300 yards. And those 6 wins were the most for Oregon in over 5 years. For his efforts, Shaw received a myriad of awards, including all PCC honors and the Pop Warner Award as the best player on the West Coast. As Shaw barreled towards graduation, all signs pointed to him becoming a star in the NFL. That is, if he wanted to play in the NFL. You see, like many players during this era, Shaw was a successful multi-sport athlete, and as an All-American center fielder, Shaw drew interest from the New York Yankees, who offered him a deal complete with a $10,000 signing bonus. But the only issue was that the Yankees had a center fielder, some guy named Mickey Mantle, who turned out to be kinda good. On top of this, after the Colts took Shaw first overall, they offered him a salary of $17,500 per year, so he packed his bags and headed for Baltimore. It had been a rough first 2 years of existence for the Colts, who combined for a record of 6-18 over that span, played with the worst defense in 1953 and the worst offense in both 1953 and 54. So perhaps with the nation's top quarterback prospect joining them, maybe Shaw could give the Colts' anemic offense a shot of life. And even though the Colts improved in 1955, winning a franchise-best 5 games, the fact of the matter was their slight uptick in productivity was not a direct result of Shaw's play. In reality, Shaw's statistical output was similar to that of the previous 2 seasons. The real significant impact came in the Colts' second first-round pick, Wisconsin fullback Alan Amici, who led the league in both rushing touchdowns and yards, and took home All-Pro and Rookie of the Year honors. Still, the Colts were moving in the right direction, and Shaw was set to continue as their starting quarterback. Shaw's sophomore season got off to a solid start with a respectable 28-21 victory over the Chicago Bears, where he completed a pair of touchdown passes. But that was as good as it got for Shaw, as the Colts dropped their next 2 games, with Shaw throwing a single touchdown compared to 6 interceptions. And in the Colts' Week 4 rematch with the Bears, things got a lot worse for the starting quarterback, as early in the game he suffered a broken leg. And with Shaw now sidelined, the Colts were forced to turn to their rookie 9th-round pick, Johnny Unitas. And over the next 9 games, he managed to unseat the injured Shaw as the team's franchise quarterback. Under the guise of Unitas, Baltimore won 4 of their final 8 games, and more importantly finished with the 4th best offense in the league. On top of this, Unitas' output over those 7 starts compared to that of Shaw's previous season with 12 starts, but most importantly he threw half as many interceptions. To be frank, the decision wasn't a hard one to make, and Unitas was handed the starting job to begin the 1957 season. By the end of that year, he had led the league in passing touchdowns for the first time and led the Colts to the second-ranked offense in their first ever winning season in franchise history. By the end of the 1958 season, Unitas once again led the league in passing touchdowns and led the Colts' now top-ranked offense to their first championship in franchise history when they defeated the Giants in what became known as the greatest game ever played. By the end of the 1959 season, Unitas, you guessed it, led the league in passing touchdowns with a then-record 32. He also led the league in yards and completions, giving voters no choice but to award him with his first-ever MVP. And to complete what can only be described as the perfect season, Unitas once again led the Colts past the Giants for their second straight NFL championship. However, this time Shaw wasn't on the Colts sideline backing up Unitas. Instead, he was on the opposite side backing up Giant star Charlie Connerly. You see, while Unitas rose to stardom, the former #1 overall pick was busy wasting away on the sidelines, and after 2 years of begging head coach Weeb Ebank to allow him just a little bit of playing time, he left for New York. But the grass wasn't exactly greener at Yankee Stadium. In his first season with the Giants, Shaw injured his thumb and failed to garner much playing time, throwing just 36 passes over the course of 5 games. The following season, with Connerly in and out of the lineup, Shaw stepped up and helped guide New York to a 3-0 record, with his best game coming in Week 2 when he threw 4 touchdown passes in a 35-14 victory over the Cardinals. Still, after the Giants' initial 3-game winning streak, Shaw struggled, and the team allowed him to walk in free agency in favor of veteran Y.A. Tittle, which again turned out to be the right decision, as Tittle led the Giants to 3 straight championship appearances in his first 3 seasons in New York, and he also took home 3 All-Pro nods and the MVP in 1963. But by that point, Shaw was out of football altogether. Ahead of the 1961 season, Shaw signed with the expansion Minnesota Vikings, who were coached by fellow Oregon alum Norm Van Brocklin. Shaw threw all of 2 passes before being benched in favor of rookie 3rd-round pick Fran Tarkenton, who proceeded to throw 4 touchdown passes in his debut, leading the Vikings past the Bears 37-13. And though Shaw had the opportunity to start 3 of the next 4 games, it was clear by mid-season that Tarkenton was their quarterback of the future. This turned out to be once again the right decision made at the expense of Shaw, as Tarkenton went on to quarterback the Vikings for 13 years over the course of 2 separate stints, including 3 Super Bowl appearances and the MVP in 1975, on the way to what became a Hall of Fame career. Once again without a starting job, Shaw made his way to the AFL for what became the final stop of his career as a member of the Denver Broncos. But it was more of the same, as he was unable to overtake veteran Frank Tripucka, who went on to lead the league in passing for the 2nd time in 3 years and was named an AFL All-Star for the 1962 season. And while Tripucka's career didn't end in Canton, he was immortalized by the Broncos, becoming one of only 3 players in the history of the franchise to have his number retired, and then briefly unretired with his blessing so that Peyton Manning could don his iconic number 18. Shaw retired following the 1962 season with only 41 touchdowns to his name over the course of 7 years. After football, Shaw became an investment counselor in Portland and passed away in 1998 of cancer. The tragedy of George Shaw is such that due to the fact that not only was he replaced or kept out of the starting lineup in every stop he made, but also because in every single case the team in question ended up making the right decision by keeping him on the sidelines.